What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel. Check out the content. And with that being said, man, I want to speak on what I've noticed lately. Not just with the recent return of Caitlin Clark to the team, right? But I just noticed like the relationship between uh what's the young lady name? Stephanie White. I think her name is Stephanie White. Yeah, Coach White, and the relationship between her and Caitlin Clark, right? And so I got to talking about this with on my live podcast over the weekend about what I see as far as the relationship between these two, and I think they have a very good relationship. I thought coming in that they had a very good relationship. And I think that their relationship is getting better because you can tell like the trust is there, the respect is there coming from both parts, right? From both parties, Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White. And we spoke about like on my podcast, we spoke about like how important the relationship between the leader of your team, like the leader on the court and the coach is, like how important that is, how important it is for a coach to be able to push that leader on your team and to use that person to set an example, and then in turn that example will allow your role players and everybody else to fall into line and to get better, right? And so one of the examples that I used when we were talking about the relationship between coach and your star player or your franchise player, I thought was an excellent relationship. It was Popovich and Tim Duncan, right? And so Popovich and Tim Duncan relationship, like Tim Duncan was very coachable. And you don't always, when you have a franchise ball player and somebody who is as talented as a franchise ball player like Tim Duncan, you don't always get a player that's as coachable as Tim Duncan, you know. But is needed, like when you have somebody like Greg Popovich, especially at that professional level, because professional basketball players just have so much leverage that if you don't really get along with your coach, they can get you out of there. And we saw that with the Milwaukee Bucks. Adrian Griffin, he didn't really have the best relationships with Giannis. LeBron James, like if throughout the years, like Mike Brown, and David Black or Vlad, however you pronounce his name, those. If you don't have a great relationship with that franchise ball player, that star ball player, then as a coach, you won't be there. But I don't see that with these two, Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark. I see them like developing a chemistry. I see them um like developing that trust, and that's what you need. Like you can't win, it'll be harder to win as a coach when you have that, or you won't be able to sustain winning. Just like I said, Giannis won one championship so far with Milwaukee, and then like within the next year, so they get rid of that coach, and then so once they got rid of that coach, in my opinion, everything just started to unravel and fall apart. Then you got rid of a second coach. Now you have a third coach in there who's not having the kind of success that they want them to have. So that relationship is so close. I mean, so crucial. Think about like Michael Jordan and Phil Jackson. Mike and Mike and Mike and Phil spoke about their relationship. They became very close, but it didn't start out that way. Phil Jackson said the first time he tried to call Michael Jordan, did I say Jackson? The first time Phil Jackson tried to call Michael Jordan in for a meeting, Mike just blew him off and didn't show up. You know, so he had to gain Mike's confidence, Mike's trust, and he did that. He did that. Then you have Pat Riley and Magic Johnson, or Casey Jones and Larry Bird, you can't sustain winning. You might get one, like I said, like Giannis, but you gotta be able to get along with, like somebody like Caitlin Clark. You gotta be able to get along with her. You gotta show that that you can be trusted, and you gotta build that bridge between you two. But I do see that, you know what I mean? Like it, like in and the reason why I say that, like the press conference, um, Caitlin Clark this last against the Liberty, Caitlin Clark played an excellent game. I think she scored like 32 points coming back off of like a head injury or something like that. And I didn't see Caitlin Clark that she didn't make any mistakes, right? But Stephanie White, commended her for the game that she had. And then she also, in a joking way, just pointed out like how she could have even did better, right? And then so when you look at Caitlin Clark, she was receptive to that information coming from her head coach. So that's a good sign when you have somebody with that kind of talent who is coachable, and a lot of times that comes from like that player's upbringing. Like if that player has great coaches like coming through like AAU, not even before you get to AAU, if they have like their parents instill certain values and certain good habits in the kid, then the kids will go to AAU and then that'll carry over. Then you get them with good coaches and stuff like that'll carry over to college. And now you have Caitlin Clark playing in the WNBA. She had a with the lady who coached her at Iowa. What's her name? Bludenhauser or something like that. Like they had a great relationship. People even thought that the coach from Iowa was going to come and coach Caitlin at Indiana. But that lady wanted to, she wasn't interested. Probably she just wanted to retire. She did her work and she just passed Caitlin on to the next level. But those relationships are crucial, especially when you think about like you want to win and you want to sustain winning. Greg Popovich he always said that he appreciated the fact that Tim Duncan was somebody that was coachable. Um, I mean, it's just in my opinion, it's just a dream for a coach to get these kind of players who you can coach and you can push. You know what I mean? Like he used to really get on Tim Duncan sometimes, but that's only to not that Tim Duncan was ever half stepping or wasn't playing up to his ability, but to show everybody in there that that like anybody can be, nobody's beyond reproach, and that's what you want to have. You got to have that hierarchy. Those type of players have to allow you to lead, and that's not something that all coaches are able to do. Like get through to a franchise ball player. Can you imagine like being Casey Jones and trying to, you got to correct a Larry Bird or Pat Riley, and now Pat Riley, he coaching Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Magic Johnson, as a young coach, like that's, I don't know, a lot of people can't, it looks easy. They make it look easy, but to be able to coach somebody like a Kobe Bryant, a Magic Johnson, or Larry Bird, I just think that just takes a skill set that not all coaches can. Not all coaches had that skill set, and so hopefully with Stephanie White, she'll be able to. I think she do. As a matter of fact, I just like Stephanie White as a coach. Um, I like Christy Size as a coach. It's just that, and I thought that when Christy Size came in, I knew that Christy Size wasn't going to make it, and not through no fault of her own, but usually like that first coach, when you get a franchise player, that first coach is almost like the test, like a test case, and a lot of times they don't make it. Like Michael Jordan, first coach didn't make it. Magic Johnson, first coach didn't make it. Um, A lot of times we get, and that's uncommon. Like most of the time, you don't hit the ground running with a franchise ball player for the first coach, and the first coach make it. So I like Christy Siles. I thought she was a good coach. I thought that even when as the season went on, I thought that her and Caitlin Clark, their relationship was getting better. I thought she was learning, Caitlin, and you know, um, and, and credit, to Caitlin Clark. Um, she's very coachable. By her, she's a gym rat. You can see all the videos that she put up with her working out and stuff. She a gym rat. She understand the game and stuff like that. She come from a good family and stuff like that. So yeah, man, I just think that it's important, and I'm noticing because these are the kind of things that I check out, like those relationships between the coach and the player, because you can't have no chinks in the armor. Um, Anytime you have that type of chink in the armor, your opponents will pick up on that and they'll maximize that to their ability. And once they get you to switching coaches and stuff like that, man, it's tough to win like that on a consistent basis. So that's my take on it. Um, Make sure to like and subscribe. Let me know what you think, though. Let me know if you think that this relationship between Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark is going to be the type of relationship that Greg Popovich had with Tim Duncan, or with what's the other coach, or Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan, Casey Jones and Larry Bird, or all those great coach player duos, man, that went out and won championships, and did what they were supposed to do. Yeah, let me know what you think about that. Leave a comment, and I'll check you all out in the next video. Peace.